Hello and welcome to a new video on my channel. Today I present to you part 28 of the story Pandora and the Eternal War. I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, please leave a like and subscribe, and don't forget to recommend my channel to your friends. I won't beat around the bush any longer, let's get straight into the story. I put a lot of effort into this part 28. I had a great time writing it, and I hope you've already listened to the other 26 parts. I'd really love to hear your thoughts about the story. Because I enjoy writing it so much, I'll keep going regardless. I hope you like these stories, so let's dive right into the tale.
All the heroes present freeze for a moment, then immediately assume combat stances and try to split their attention between the two strange presences on the battlefield. They're forced to divide their focus between the odd woman who appeared with two bodyguards from seemingly nowhere and the presence of Camilla, because they can't watch both at once. The two new factors in this fight aren't aligned. Camilla is approaching from the north while Malin and her two bodyguards are coming from the south. What is this, villain? Are they on your side? Block asks, looking at Pandora, but he gets no answer, at least not immediately. I think you might have said something about the people who are coming. But whatever, I don't bother reading your lips. Why would I explain my plans to my enemies? I'm not that arrogant. You are all scum, you heroes, Pandora says, fixing her gaze toward the direction Camilla is coming from. When Pandora sees how fast Camilla is, she thinks it's a good idea to do what she's doing. Camilla's silver-white hair now looks similar to Pandora's own, though on closer inspection it's clear she isn't just a slightly larger version of Pandora. That's not lost on Pandora or the other A-rank heroes. As they shift their attention to Camilla, they see she is the greater threat. Part of the reason they don't try to attack Malin and the other two is that their first strikes simply pass through them as if they weren't there. These three seem ghost-like, a result of Arcane's permeability. It's an ability that does exactly what it sounds like. It's a support class Arcanes that prevents injury to others and to itself. Unfortunately, it's an A- rank power too strong for its user to wield alone. It would be amazing if that power could be distributed like Pandora's own stolen abilities, but Pandora, however reluctant to admit it, must still acknowledge that even her powers have limits. If she had none, she would simply kill the strongest people in their sleep and steal their powers. It was a really good idea of mine to combine gravity manipulation with telekinesis. Now I gave Camilla something that cancels out her accuracy issues and gives her the same kind of force. It's impressive, but also risky. I'm glad she developed into a vampire quickly, otherwise this would have gone terribly for me, Pandora thinks as she realizes that even with all her powers she still can't break the golden and red chains or open a portal, because the space around her is frozen and refuses to change, as if no longer responding to her will. Who is that? I've never seen a villain like her before, Tomoko says. You're right. I don't recognize this villain either, but she looks familiar, like I've seen her somewhere before, Fox replies, sounding tense. Even with 30 A-rank heroes, they can't simply afford to lose, despite a few already being injured. Still, the uneasy feeling that something is off won't go away. The figure closing in will arrive in seconds, and the energy she radiates suggests she's an S-rank hero. Her aura also seems oddly familiar to Pandora's classmates and to members of Class 1K. Be careful, it's Camilla. Her paranormal signature similarity is 20%, a voice announces over the comms as the heroine Crystal steps forward to try to stop the presumed Camilla, whether that person really is Camilla or not. Even as the possibility that the approaching woman is the Camilla they thought they'd lost spreads, Crystal already forms multiple new constructs of pure diamond to slow her opponent. Carbon is drawn from the atmosphere and takes shape as countless diamond spikes and crystals in Camilla's flight path. But before any of Class 1K or the 30 nearby heroes can react, violet rings form in the air around them and press down only at the exact points where they stand, not a grain of dust outside the affected surface. Each gravitational ring seems to have roughly a 1-meter radius as it crushes them to the ground. This is a precision Camilla never had. Her gravity manipulation had been powerful but not this precise. Now she pins more than 30 targets to the ground simultaneously without recklessly destroying the surroundings. Any present would agree an S-rank hero could do this, but they would doubt that someone could exercise such fine control. Why are you doing this? What is your goal? Maybe we can settle this with words, Fox tries, the guilt audible in her voice. If she had spoken sooner, perhaps more lives would have been saved and Camilla and Pandora would have been exposed earlier. Even if Fox herself doesn't fully understand how Camilla's aura has changed, the fact that the aura still matches by 20% is strong evidence. Even some twins don't have identical signatures. It's basic. Each paranormal signature is nearly entirely individual, so it's logical to assume this woman is Camilla. With an explosion of force and a deafening crack, the diamond walls shatter one after another as Camilla flies straight through them without noticeably slowing. No one present can follow precisely what happens. It's too fast and too destructive. When the dust settles, two silhouettes stand near each other. Pandora, still bound to the cross, and another figure beside her who can barely contain her fury and disgust. Would you be so kind, Camilla, and kill Fox and the woman from our class who creates those red chains? I think she's back there, Pandora says, nodding weakly in a direction as she helplessly tries to move, which does not work at all. You see, I'm in a bit of an awkward situation and can't really give you a little kiss on the cheek or anything. But you might want to kill Starlight as well, she's also the one keeping me immobilized. Pandora says this relatively calmly, showing little fear or emotion as she looks down at the alternating gold and reddish chains. It's clear the red chains are significantly weaker than the golden ones. There seems to be another ability involved besides everything that binds me to the cross and makes movement even harder. But those should be minor obstacles once I free myself from the others, Pandora thinks as she notices Camilla looking at her with devotion and love. No problem, my love, I would do anything for you, Camilla says as the last dust settles and the resemblance between Pandora and Camilla becomes clear. Pandora is smaller and slightly muscular, while Camilla is much more muscular and easily half a head taller. Above all, the scar on Camilla's face is unmistakable. When Camilla's words ring across the battlefield, they are filled only with devotion and love, with no trace of feeling for her classmates. It is precisely this absolute devotion that makes their blood run cold. Fox and Tomoko feel their knees give way, not only from the increased gravity that barely lets them move but also from the panic and terror that wrap their hearts like a freezing hand of death. We can really resolve this with words, Fox repeats, trying to keep her concentration to maintain the bubble around Pandora. No, we cannot resolve this with words. You tried to kill my love, and that deserves something far worse than death. Unfortunately, I can't think of what that should be, and I need to end this quickly before my asshole of a father shows up and kills me too. Well, we'll see, maybe there's still a trace of feeling left in his old bones, Camilla says, her voice full of disgust and fury, making it even more chilling. She shows no empathy and sees the heroes merely as obstacles. In Camilla's eyes, Fox can read that abyssal hatred and contempt for her father. Whatever Pandora promised you, Camilla, you don't have to do this. You can walk away. We'll find another way, Martin pleads. It's an insult that you think I would want anything in return for serving my love. She is everything to me, without her the world is nothing. So shut up, you scum of a hero. I can't believe you heroes, with your righteousness and justice, keep committing the darkest deeds over and over. Call me a villain if you want, I don't give a damn. You will die now for standing in the way of my beloved, Camilla answers, raising her hand. Gravity skyrockets around them all. It's clear Camilla doesn't even intend to consider who she kills. She plans to flatten them into a puddle of red sauce on the ground in an instant. You villains will never defeat us heroes. Even if you beat us here, other heroes will always fight you, Tomoko says, full of defiance. Even as Tomoko speaks through the pain, barely able to form whole words as her face is pressed flat into the ground and she's forced deeper into the earth, something happens none of them expected. Her declaration, meant to inspire resistance and heroism, sets Pandora off in laughter. Pandora's laughter rings disturbingly clear across the battlefield, as if chaos energy itself warped reality so that her laugh sounds even colder and carries farther. I really can't believe our class is this cursed. How on earth could fate play such a cruel joke on you poor heroes? Since you have nothing better to do than die, I'll tell you the irony of this joke. How funny is it that you heroes are so convinced of your ideals yet have such shitty safety measures and put so little effort into training heroes that the law of the strongest basically rules here? Look around. In our own class there are 4 dangerous individuals, and I can't fathom how you, Tomoko, whatever I should call you, could act so convincingly. You are something that even confused me for a while. I wasn't sure if you were alive or dead. Well, maybe that's the wrong question. Should I ask whether the body you have is alive at all? In any case, the individual Tomoko has been brain dead for 2 years, which I find very interesting because that black fluid in you and the ability you display suspiciously resemble the arcanes of a supposedly dead villain. Parasite. Pandora says. While the Class 1K candidates try to deny that their class contained a psychopath, a yandere, an assassin, and a spy, 4 women with violent intentions, it becomes undeniable that some of Pandora's claims must be true. For a few seconds it really does feel like the class might be cursed. While the heroes lie pinned, something else happens. The attention of the people holding Pandora falters. The cracking of bone or something similar is heard as Starlight, the heroine sustaining Pandora's bonds, suddenly shatters under pressure like glass. A second later her remains dissolve and vanish without a trace. Before the heroes can fully register this, Pandora frees herself from the golden chains and the cross. Man, I thought I'd never be trapped here, Pandora says as she immediately lunges at the person who poses the greatest threat to her. A lot happens in an instant. Pandora leaps forward and throws herself at the hero block, her former class instructor. An overwhelming aura of paranormal power approaches as Starbreaker rushes in, moving through the air as if he had just jumped. As he closes the distance, there appears to be a cut across Pandora's throat. Her powers begin to fail first as her metallic form quickly retracts, and as if her body doesn't realize it is dying, it keeps moving, but then it collapses before reaching block. A second later the ground trembles from the force of his arrival, but Camilla is not surprised. When her gaze falls from Pandora's fallen body back to Starbreaker, it's unclear which angers her more, the death of her friend or the sight of her father. So what now, father? Won't you kill and start over? Get another woman pregnant until she bears a child like me? Are you here to justify a mistake or to destroy a broken product and begin again? Camilla asks, bitterness and rage filling her voice as if she speaks hard truths born from terrible family experience, things none of her classmates have heard. What are you talking about, daughter? I'm here to bring you back. This little escapade we can sweep under the rug. If you try, you can still become a hero, Starbreaker replies, his words carrying a clarity and certainty as though he could snuff this out like a phase, just as he extinguished all her earlier hopes. This is not some phase. Don't you dare think you can destroy my hopes and dreams again. You'll have to kill me to stop me. Either I kill you or you kill me. Decide whether you'll resist. If you resist, I'll kill everyone present. If you move to attack me, someone dies. It's that simple. Every life I take will cling to your hands, to your reputation, to all that honor crap you care about, Camilla spits, her fury and hatred almost palpable in the air. The air itself seems to buzz and strain under the pressure as 2 auras of the same power class hang in the sky, 2 almost equally strong presences whose full clash could wreak catastrophic effects. A fight at that scale wouldn't only reduce Metropolis Alpha to rubble, it could desolate the surrounding mountains and wipe out flora and fauna for hundreds of kilometers. The last time several S-rank heroes clashed, a similarly massive area was devastated, thankfully far from any settlements. You've lost. You can stop and come back. Your lover, your little affair, is over, she's dead. You can't cling to her anymore, Starbreaker says, as if he knows her nature, which only fuels Camilla's rage. Stop acting like you know me. You can't just come and ruin my dreams, Camilla answers, glaring at her father. At that moment Kikumi senses something fundamentally wrong. Her secondary arcanes, the power that should let her read the battlefield and understand the state of the fight, registers no change, which, even though Pandora's paranormal power had waned slightly, suggests something is off. Kikumi realizes that either Pandora somehow survived her apparent death, or in that exact moment an equally large, hostile threat appeared. Either way, I need to get out of here with Block. I can't stand against Pandora if she's still alive, whatever enabled that, Kikumi thinks as she flees with Block over her shoulder. Kikumi barely notices that the gravity around them, especially around the heroes, is easing as danger grows. The threat is no longer only Pandora, It's also the possibility that the whole area will be destroyed by a duel between two S-rank individuals. But when Camilla hurls herself at her father and focuses gravity on him, every hero previously pinned by the same power is released. It's too late for you, father. I'm no longer human. Will you kill me now that I've become an enemy of humanity? Camilla snarls, baring her sharp fangs, and tries to crush him, yet however strongly she presses him down, the crater his steps make only grows. Starbreaker's deep blue eyes glitter with a dawning realization that he cannot sweep this under the rug. Camilla gives him no time to think. She inverts gravity and sends him hurtling upward with little resistance. No matter how strong he is, he can't constantly adapt to changing gravity directions or breathe in space. Camilla's focus is entirely on her father as he falls into the sky. Red chains form around her as Class 1K candidates who can't stand try to help, and those who can fight attempt one more assault, though it seems hopeless. When they feel Camilla's cold aura, they recognize its unmistakable similarity to Pandora's. It no longer seems like the Camilla they once knew. "I'll hold her. You flee," says the girl who creates the red chains, but she doesn't get further. A black poison suddenly takes her life. "I thought this would be difficult, but this proves I'm not on the hero's side, right, Camilla?" Tomoko says as she watches her classmate die. "How? You monster." "It was true," Fox stammers, her voice breaking. "Come on, don't be so surprised. You heard the evidence. I am Parasite. Tomoko is dead. Please, kill me." "What the hell was that?" Parasite says, feeling his body speak without his will. "Well, the body was probably just in a coma but still able to talk. Whatever, this changes nothing," Parasite adds, seemingly unconcerned whether his body is alive or only partly so. Camilla gives no reply as she watches her father disappear into the clouds. It becomes clear that in this world power is not only about strength but also about flexibility. A simple reversal of gravity stopped the strongest man alive, because raw muscle means little when you're falling into thinning air. He might try to push off with the air pressure, but as the atmosphere thins, the force needed to propel himself becomes ever greater. Soon his strength won't be enough to keep himself aloft or reverse his fall. Everyone painfully realizes that power alone doesn't win wars in this world. Strategy and versatility can negate brute force. In this case, sheer muscle could not overcome the force of gravity, even though muscle power held a higher rank than gravity manipulation. A choking cloud of panic hangs heavy as the Class 1K candidates, the next generation of heroes, understand this will not be as simple as they expected. Rescuing their classmates who had seemed deranged was not a clean good vs evil mission. Above all, this was not a fight they could win without losses. It is already a miracle they have only broken bones and raw wounds. Had Camilla truly focused on killing them, it would have ended far faster and far bloodier. As the last particles of the reddish chains dissolve, the illusion of hope they'd been clinging to fades. This is a war, a fight for survival, not only for villains but for heroes too. It's not a tidy tale of good versus evil, it's reality. And even if this battle ends here, the war continues across the city. They've destroyed a large portion of Metropolis Alpha, but fighting still echoes in the distance. The scale of Metropolis Alpha shows how many heroes and villains it takes to keep everything in check. Slowly, as heroes and candidates withdraw, it sinks in. Metropolis Alpha has fallen. The safest city of humanity has been brought down in a conflict between humans, not an outside invasion, not vampires or elves or other creatures, but humans fighting over their own interests. And it is precisely this devastation spreading across the city that proves this was not the work of a single villain or a lone gang. The ground trembles as if a level 1 earthquake refused to stop, yet it is not an earthquake at all but the aftershock of countless battles that have erupted across what used to be the world's safest city. As the first rays of sun strain through the dark clouds, Kikumi feels the effort as futile and pointless as the fight on the ground. The sky mirrors the ruined earth while Kikumi slings the injured orang superhero block over her shoulder and runs away through the chaos as quickly as she can. Shit, I don't know what's going on. My secondary power tells me this fight isn't over, but I saw Pandora die. If there's a threat here as big as Pandora, I need to get out of here as fast as possible. I only managed to kill Pandora because I got lucky. If she had looked toward me or seen my ambush, my mission would have been useless, Kikumi thinks as her legs threaten to give out. Even with the help of the exoskeleton suit, the weight of combat has clearly taken a toll on Kikumi's endurance. Each step is a struggle as the exoskeleton's motors hiss and gasp in the chaos, and a metallic clang sounds when a piece of the suit breaks free and drops to the side. Damn it, this suit has seen better days, Kikumi thinks as her gaze catches her reflection in a surprisingly intact shop window. The devastation steals her breath for a few seconds. Even though she has seen this before, it does not get easier to bear. Ah, what happened? Groans the superhero Block as his wounds begin to hurt. Not much, except that your student tried to kill us all and I stopped her before she could crush your skull, Kikumi replies as she climbs over another pile of rubble with effort. Whether it is Kikumi's sharpened tactical mind or her secondary arcanus that lets her assess the battlefield more clearly, she can't say, but her instincts tell her immediately that her suit will not last much longer. Maybe it could survive a few more skirmishes with lower-level C-rank individuals, but any serious fight would finish what years of service and countless rescues have preserved. As if that weren't enough, Kikumi feels something warm trickle down over her head in the next heartbeat, and it quickly becomes more. When the red fluid drips down over her eyebrow, time seems to slow for a moment as the blood hangs suspended in the air. Thanks for the help, but I think I can walk again, Block says. Quiet back there, I need to concentrate on finding the right route, Kikumi answers as the navigation and every holographic projection in her helmet choose this moment to die. For a second she considers ripping the helmet off and throwing it aside, but that would leave her head vulnerable to other attacks. If Kikumi is anything, she is not a reckless, arrogant superheroine who relies only on her power to read a fight and dodge every strike. If there is one thing she has learned over the years, it is that vain, reckless heroes are the ones who die fastest against villains. It would be both foolish and stupid to throw the helmet away when it still offers protection. In light of the fact that having a powerful ability does not automatically make a hero invulnerable to other forms of attack, it would be reckless in almost any situation to depend solely on that power, since projectiles and weapons still exist that can outrun most reactions and kill you. Where exactly are you taking us? It's not like this city has any truly safe place left. The Hero Association headquarters is also under attack by multiple villains. It will be hard for us to get through, Block says. It would be nice if Block could say he had a better idea where to go or even claim to have a plan, but those would be lies. At this moment the Helios Academy, the Hero Association headquarters, and the Nova clan base are all under assault by multiple villain factions, and in their weakened state it would be a terrible idea to head there. I wouldn't call it a plan, but basically we need to go straight to the next turn and then to my home. My little sister should be waiting there, and with her it will be much easier to get out of the city, Kikumi says in a surprisingly calm voice, as if reaching her sister is the most important thing and that afterward the danger will be manageable. But how will your sister help us get out of the city? Block asks. You might not know my sister, but trust me, she can help. I'd even say she has one of the most useful, pragmatic powers at our rank that I've ever seen. With enough preparation she could give an S-rank hero a hard time, Kikumi replies as the ground under her feet begins to vibrate far more strongly. Suddenly, without warning, the windows of a still relatively intact building between two collapsed structures explode in flames and a wave of heat rolls across the entire block. The heatwave arrives as quickly as it passes, and the flames die down. Kikumi's gaze rests on the charred building for a few seconds, and she wonders what power caused this destruction and why. The question fades when the whole building is struck by a hammering blow and something is launched from the 6th floor with such force that much of the upper roof and the 7th floor are blown northward. Before the debris has time to fall, Kikumi sees a figure shoot after something that somehow stabilizes in the air. Holy shit, two fighting villains again, and they don't look weak. I can't affect them at this range anyway. I can cut through anything I want, but not from here, Kikumi thinks, estimating the distance to be easily over 100 meters. The paranormal energy radiating from both individuals leaves no doubt. They must be B-rank. I think I know those two. One is a wanted criminal with over 20 murders to his name. He's the one who shoots fire from his hands and legs. He goes by ridiculous names like Firestorm or Deathstorm, I'm not entirely sure. The other is someone I don't know, I've never seen him before, Block says as his eyes also fall on the two airborne figures. The two men seem clearly hostile, even though Firestorm does all the talking while the man in the black hoodie and white mask remains mostly silent. Surrender, Firestorm, and you might live a little longer, the masked man says. When Kikumi looks up, she takes in the fighters. Details. The masked man wears a completely white porcelain mask painted with black symbols that look more like war paint than clear markings. His muscular build is impressive and his calm composure even more so. He's not wearing armor, yet he moves as if he were armored. His apparent ability to fly, without pushing air down or spitting flames, doesn't fully explain his self-assurance and resilience, unless he possesses more than one power. As Kikumi knows, it's not impossible for 1 in 1,000 power bearers to have two abilities. Usually those powers are random and don't belong to the same category, which is odd. I wonder what classes his two powers fall into. It would be unlikely for both to be combat-oriented, so he should be on the Hero Association's radar. But I've never heard of anyone dressed like that fighting villains. He's not a vigilante, Kikumi thinks as her legs, after only 2 seconds of surprise, start moving again and she slips into the shadow of another building to avoid attracting the fighters' attention. You think I'll let you go whether I surrender or not? This is a fight to the death, Firestorm laughs, a laugh that chills Kikumi's blood even in the dark. It's the kind of laugh only someone utterly devoid of sanity could make. Whatever, delivering proof that I killed you should earn me enough points. Your head will do, the unknown villain says as he slowly raises his gloved black hand. That trick won't work on me again, the flaming villain says as he shoots a burst of fire from his hands to propel himself backward and evade. A painful scream cuts through the street and Kikumi sees the man in greenish light shaping something. She is struck dumb because the honeycomb barriers the villain uses look familiar. It's the power of a hero she knows. That's impossible, that's Turtle Man's ability. How did this power fall into the hands of a villain? Can he steal powers or copy them? But the only hero was the S-rank hero who disappeared a few years ago. How could that person now have multiple powers taken from others? Kikumi thinks as the words drift into her head and a cruel suspicion spreads through her heart. As Kikumi thinks this can't be real. I hope I'm wrong. Kikumi forces herself to keep moving as fast as she can, but the sounds of battle behind her make that impossible to feel any less futile. Without warning, a fireball streaks past them and slams into an abandoned parked car, turning it in an instant into a humped wreck of melted metal and boiling plastic. When Kikumi hears something crack under her boot, she doesn't want to look, but she does, and the sight makes her stomach drop. A human arm lies reduced to skeleton, which means something on this street burned flesh off bone or removed it by other means. In a city like this, it's not surprising that such a power exists, but that knowledge does nothing to ease the shock. All Kikumi can hope, as she refocuses on the road ahead and their destination, is that the person whose arm she saw died quickly and didn't suffer. Is anyone there? I need help. A rough voice says, unnervingly young. If I walk away now, I'm not a very good hero. I should be able to save every child. That's why I became a hero. But I wasn't made to babysit civilians in this chaos while my strength drains. At least not if I want to live. Is that selfish, or something else? I don't want to risk my life needlessly. Is it wrong to want to flee when I see no other way to survive? Kikumi thinks, her conscience gnawing at her as the flames in Metropolis Alpha's skyline reflect in her eyes. Then, as if the world itself is breaking, Kikumi hears a bone-rattling crack and the grinding of collapsing masonry. Dust trickles into her vision and a shadow falls over them. For a second she feels certain that lives will be snuffed out in the next heartbeat. She senses the incoming danger more than she sees it. Shit, I can't draw my sword. I can't use my ability to cut that apart above us. And that wouldn't even stop it, it would keep falling. Kikumi thinks as the image of a small boy pinned under rubble flashes through her head. Before she fully understands her body's movement, she sees herself lunge forward and lose her grip on block. What am I doing? I want to survive too, why am I throwing block ahead of me? Kikumi asks herself as a dull blow hits her and everything goes black. Come on, wake up, we have to keep moving, we can't stay here. A voice says, its origin unclear. The darkness feels warm and comfortable, and for a moment she is tempted to stay. Come on, wake up, we have to go. The same voice repeats. Oh right, I was grabbed by something. I have to save Block, I have to get to my sister. Without her, we won't get out of here easily. Kikumi thinks as her will to survive flares like a small flame in the dark, She wants to live to make life easier for others another day. With that light comes noise and a steady tremor, as if the world cannot stop shaking. As the edges of her vision sharpen, Kikumi notices a large crack across her helmet's visor, a miracle it didn't shatter given the stress it has taken. Okay, good, you're back with me. We have to keep moving. The situation is getting really bad. Walter says. The voice now clearly belongs to Block, the teacher at Helios Academy and a superhero. Thank you for waiting for me, Mr. Block. Kikumi replies in a shaky, uncertain voice as she tries to stand. Her limbs feel like jelly. Please, don't call me, Mr. Block. You probably saved my life. We can skip the superhero titles. My name's Walter. Not the most heroic name in the city, I know, but whatever. Walter says as he reaches out and helps her up. All right, so we're on first name terms. But what actually happened? How did I get knocked out so quickly? Kikumi asks, already moving ahead to lead the way. Luckily a lot of the falling debris missed us. But even with the exosuit, it was hard to roll away the stone that hit you, Walter replies, limping around the corner as slowly as she does. They fall into a quiet that isn't comfort but a pressure, the oppressive aura of war and chaos. Whether it's officially a war or not doesn't matter to Kikumi, it feels like one. The smell of blood and ash comes and goes, mixing with other odors she can't place. She forces herself to focus on the path and to shut out everything not immediately relevant, but her success is limited. It would be so easy and soothing to blame all this blood and destruction on a single individual, to pin it on one villain. But in a conflict between multiple factions that would be childish and naive, wars like this are never the work of one mind. Even though Kikumi is used to the smell of blood and the groans of the wounded from years of fighting, the scale here is different. Almost every side street hides a clash within 100 meters, and while most are not enormous, the constant tremors and flashes of colored light in the distance show just how chaotic this conflict is. If it were only one kind of superpower fight, it might be slightly less terrible, yet now the sound of gunfire and the hiss of energy weapons mingle with the supernatural. Shit. The street we have to take has multiple fights. I don't know if we can fight in our condition. How many people can you block with your ability? Kikumi asks, trying to make the most of their limited options. I'm afraid I can't be much help unless I have the names of the people I need to block. My ability to suppress powers doesn't work by shouting names into the void. They have to hear me. That's why my power wasn't very effective against Pandora. One of her underlings, one of those who appeared out of nowhere, blocked my voice so Pandora couldn't hear me. In this chaos I don't have a megaphone or the names of the villains. There's no hard cap on how many people I can block at once, but it only works under those conditions. Walter says, careful not to give false hope. That's a problem. I have someone who can block powers, but only if he knows the target's name and the target can hear him. That's useless if we don't know who they are. We can't take the main street, and we probably can't dash across it either with so much chaos. Kikumi thinks, glancing down the badly damaged side street they have cut through from the main road. It would take about 5 more minutes on foot, if they weren't limping and injured. What exactly can your ability do? How could we use it? Do you have a plan to get us to your sister? Walter asks, a flicker of hope in his voice. Yes, I have a plan. You won't like it. It's risky, but it will work. Kikumi says as she takes the turn toward the main street, the sounds of fighting growing louder. What's your plan? Walter asks, his tone edged with irritation and desperation as Kikumi heads straight for the main street, the exact place they should avoid if they want to get through unscathed. My plan is to make a lot of noise, and my sister Gaia will find us. She's probably looking for me everywhere. If I make enough noise, she should be able to get to us and pull us out. Kikumi says, and suddenly everything clicks into place for Walter. When Walter hears the name Gaia, memories and mentions of her strike like lightning. Gaia is one of the few A-rang heroines who nearly deserved S-rang. She rarely appears herself and instead sends legions of golems. The scale of her constructs is terrifying. The last time she made the news was 6 months ago when a villain went on a rampage in Metropolis Beta. It was only thanks to 157 metal golems that the serial killer and villain could be stopped. May I ask what makes you so sure your sister will find us and that we can hold out? Block asks as they reach the end of the narrow alley and peer toward the main street. The air is thick with paranormal energy, Powers flicker nearby and in the distance like a grotesque fireworks display. Some signatures grow stronger, others fade, while some remain constant in their output. You don't need to worry. I can fight as long as I have my sword. Outside of that, my effective range is severely limited. I can cut anything to death unless it takes an elemental form, gaseous or liquid, so it would be best if we avoid encountering anything like that. I also can't sever space itself, so portals and pure energy attacks are useless to me. I'm not the protagonist of an anime, you know. Kikumi says as she cautiously peeks around the corner to take the situation in. Okay, that should be doable. If we move quickly across the other side, no one should spot us. The fighters are distant enough and their ranges don't reach us. Kikumi thinks as she tries to judge the danger each combatant poses, which proves surprisingly difficult given the dense paranormal energy in the air. Kikumi's secondary power isn't much help here either, since the situation no longer presents itself as a single direct fight. Her battlefield perception or combat instinct can't pick out anything useful. What do you mean you're not an anime character? Walter asks, slightly thrown by that sudden remark. I mean something simple. I can cut things, but I can't cut a fireball or a flash of light. That's energy, you can't slice energy. We're not in a bad anime where logic takes a step back. I can't slice air. No matter how sharp my blade is, there's nothing to cut. Things just close back together around the blade. So cutting them is pointless. Kikumi says, her slight irony failing to hide her nervousness. The sense of danger still lingers, as if the threat Pandora posed hasn't vanished but only shifted. But wait, what about Camilla? Shouldn't she have stopped fighting her father after he flew up into the sky? It doesn't feel like it should be that quiet. The clash between two titans like Starbreaker and Camilla should be louder, but I guess it makes sense. Raw muscle means nothing against reversed gravity. Still, something is off if Pandora and Camilla are this destructive. If both want to raise Metropolis Alpha or kill every hero, something strange is going on. Camilla's control, her vampiric transformation, those are mysteries. She couldn't do anything like this a few weeks ago. Yes, she had S-rank power, but she lacked control and couldn't use half of it. Now her control is far finer and she wastes far less energy. It's terrifying to realize how unimportant rank is when someone has either terrible control or far better control than others. A month ago I might have beaten Camilla, but now I doubt I could get close. Kikumi thinks, realizing how serious the mismatch between rank and battlefield effectiveness can be. An S-rank hero can be far weaker in practice if their abilities are poorly controlled, and conversely an A-rank hero can sometimes defeat an S-rank if the matchup favors them. This is both blessing and curse. An A-rank hero could theoretically remove an S-rank if the powers don't fit, but the top X-rank heroes are a different matter. Kikumi can't recall any of the 10 strongest heroes having useless powers. They're the kind that can influence whole countries or continents. Hey, look, there are some heroes. If we take them out, we get points. Let's see who they are. Maybe, if they have useful powers, we can demand their abilities from the boss. A rough male voice says nearby, and Kikumi's combat instinct screams. Kikumi spins as fast as she can. For a moment her battered body protests loudly. Before her stand two men. A roughly 2-meter tall muscular man wearing a patchwork of salvaged hero armor fused into a bizarre metal cuirass and pauldrons, and beside him a smaller man wearing a black hood and a white mask marked with black symbols, the same motif as the masked fighter Kikumi had seen earlier fighting Firestorm. I want that guy in the back, he looks like he's on his last legs, we'll split the points. The smaller of the two men says. It isn't just the odd matching mask and hood that chills Kikumi, it's the fact that each of the two men appears to have at least 3 powers apiece. That's far from normal, and all of those powers look threatening, not the random assortment you'd expect. Kikumi would like to deny her perception, but statistics don't care. What she sees is near impossible, but still real and as dangerous as if she chose to deny it. We're really screwed. Both of them have 3 powers each, and I don't even know what they are. And they're not weak. Kikumi thinks as she roughly estimates that the large muscular man's total paranormal energy is roughly at her own rank level, only it's divided across 3 separate abilities, which makes him far more flexible and dangerous. But however strong they are, if they come into my range they'll be dead. Kikumi thinks, narrowing her focus to the 2 men. Just as the big man steps toward her, he freezes mid-motion. Goddamn lucky day. How did we find the boss's two biggest targets together? I wonder why the boss didn't come in person to eliminate them. The big man says as he stretches out his hand. Metal scraps from the wreckage fly to him and fuse into a chain with a morning star at the other end. What do you think? Why did the boss give us the job to take out those two? That block fellow in the background is on his last legs. He doesn't know our names, so we're the best choice to take him out. The smaller man says in a slightly annoyed tone, as if his partner irritates him. Alright, fine, I get it, but we can't get too close to Kikumi. Her power is kind of unfair. The hulking man replies. Damn it, they know my weakness. We can only affect things within 100 meters, and they're outside my range. Kikumi thinks in alarm as she sees how problematic this fight is shaping up to be. And if that's not enough, I have to protect Block. I can't risk him getting worse. My instincts scream that Block will be crucial if we want to beat Pandora. I don't know why I keep thinking Pandora's danger isn't over. Wasn't she beheaded? Nobody survives that, but maybe vampires are different. Kikumi thinks, torn from her reverie by an attack so fast she barely has time to react. A massive metallic sphere covers the 100 meters in a heartbeat. With a crash it buries itself halfway into the massive concrete wall behind Kikumi. Before she can react, the metallic ball skids through the wall toward the muscular man and passes back through the space outside her range. When small stones and shards of glass rain down in the next heartbeat, Kikumi realizes just how close she came.
And that's it for today's episode of Pandora and the Eternal War, Part 28. Thanks for your attention, and I hope to see you again in the next part. If you click the link on the left side of the screen, it will take you to the newest video I've uploaded. On the right you'll find the link to the playlist where you can find all parts of this story. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it.
And see you next time. Bye.